Hi, my name's Nikki Holt and I'm going to show you today how to make this shaker card. It's using the stamp set Perfectly Wrapped and our new foam adhesive strips and some of our new ink colors. So let me get started. First, I started with a piece of Emerald Envy cardstock that I cut down to 4 1/4 by 11, and I folded it in half. This is going to be the base of the card. Next, I took a piece of Playful Palette Designer Series paper and I cut a hole using one of our circle dies. I think it was like the 2 3/8 inch diameter circle die. I cut a hole in that paper. So let me start from there. Next, I'm going to stamp what's going on the inside of the shaker card. So I have my circle from the Perfectly Wrapped stamp set. I'm going to use basic black ink, and I'm just going to stamp that. And then in Emerald Envy ink, which is a new ink color, I'm going to stamp the thanks. And I love these photopolymer stamps because you can put them exactly where you want them, which is a huge plus. You can see right through them. And then the little a big, I'm going to ink that up in Sweet Sugar Plum, and gonna stamp that right there at the top. So that's my stamping for this part. Next, what I'm going to do is, I should tell you, this piece of very vanilla cardstock was 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. I also cut some window sheet papers, and they are like 3 by 3. And so what I'm going to do is just glue the window sheet to the back side of my Playful Palette Designer Series paper. Got a little bit of glue going through. So just going to stick that down. Doesn't really need to be straight or anything. You're never going to see it. But there we go. So you can't tell, but there's a piece of window sheet there now. So the next thing I'm going to do, this is how I got it to line up and be centered in my card. You can see how it's centered in that circle. It's kind of hard to do blindly. This is my little cheat trick for that. I took some this is temporary adhesive. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell it anymore. It's also called Dado, but I love it and I still use it to this day. So I just put a little bit of Dado on the corners of my Very Vanilla, just right there. And then I took my Playful Palette Designer Series paper that has the window sheet glued to it, and I centered that right where I wanted it. And I got that. Now you can see that it's on there temporarily, but it's centered exactly where I want it. So what I'm going to do is turn that over, and I'm going to use my snail adhesive, and I'm going to get lots of that adhesive on only the Very Vanilla piece of cardstock. Okay? So when I turn that over and I glue that down to my base, right where I want it so that everything is centered, I'm going to peel up the Playful Palette Designer Series paper, and you will be left with your stamped image right in the center where you want it to be. So that's how I handled that. Now when I cut out the circle out of here, I saved it, and the reason I saved it was so that I could put it over, kind of centered, over the top of this. And the reason I'm doing that is because that will tell me how big my window is. And I need to make sure that when I put this foam strip down that I go a little bit wider than that. So these are our new foam strips. I just pulled one off of this sheet. You get 2 of these sheets in each package. And I am going to make sure that as I lay it down, I'm staying maybe, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or so around the outside of that punch circle so that you won't see it when you put it all together. So the foam strip is just a tiny bit big. So I'm just going to cut the little extra off, but make sure your circle is closed. You do not want to leave an opening in this circle. If you do, all of your filler that you're going to put inside of here will be coming out. Okay, so for the next step is you add your filler. You can add whatever you want, doesn't really matter. I happen to have some metallic sequins that I'm going to put in here, so I'm just doing, I don't know, a little pinch of that. I also have some of our gold Stampin' glitter, so I put a little bit of that in there, maybe just a tad bit more. And then the other thing that I added was I just took, this is our confetti star border punch, and I just took and punched some of these stars out because I thought that makes for a nice little star confetti that will fit into our center. So just like that. So I have everything in there that I want. My next step is to add some dimensionals to the back side of our playful palette that has the window sheet. Now these strips are kind of thick, so if you use our regular Stampin' dimensionals, you might want to double up and put 2 so that the thickness of everything remains even around the card. These dimensionals came in one of my paper pumpkin packs, and they're a little bit thicker, so that's why I'm using those. It's nice having that paper pumpkin. I get a little bit extra adhesive dots and dimensionals and stuff every time I get a pack, so I try to use them up first. Okay, I'm just going to peel my paper off my dimensionals, and then the last step I'm going to do before I put my shaker card together is peel the piece of paper off of the other side of my foam strip. Make that the last step so that you're not losing anything out of there or it's getting covered in your glitter or whatever. And then when you go to set it down, you can pretty much just make sure that your playful palette paper is centered on your base, and it should work out perfectly. So there I have it, and it's nice and firmly pressed around that edge, and there you go. You have your own shaker card. So to add the extra little things to that, I am just going to, pardon me, having a little technical difficulties here. I am just going to punch out, or I should say stamp and cut out, because there's no punch for these flowers, unfortunately. These flowers, I should show you this. These flowers are from the Perfectly Wrapped stamp set, and there's just a couple different sizes, and that's our circle and our thanks and all. So I'm going to stamp one flower, the larger one, in the Emerald Envy. And I'm going to stamp the smaller one, solid one, in the Sweet Sugar Plum. And then get those cut out, and I already cut a couple out so you don't have to be bored watching me cut. And I'm just going to add my flowers up here. Maybe use a dimensional on the smaller flower. Have it pop out a little bit. Just like that. And then I have a big thanks. I want to add the words to you. So for that, you'll see when I mounted these, I mounted a big on one side of this stamp or acrylic block and to you on the other side. So I'm just going to stamp that, and then I stamped a couple tiny flowers, just like that. And we have a die set, our Thinlit die set. So let me see if I can find it here. I had it out. It's called the Bunch of Banner Framelits, and now my little framelit is missing. But the little framelit was what actually, the one little framelit is what punched this out on this card. If you don't have that, it's not a big deal to just cut it out yourself. Lots of ways to do the same thing. All right, let me make sure that's straight up and down. And then I just glued that on like so. And then the last thing I did was I took, this is about 16 inches of Sweet Sugar Plum ruched ribbon. It's a new, one of our new ribbons in the catalog. And I just tied that around and made a bow. When I make my bows, the way they turn out for me is if I turn my card upside down when I'm doing the whole loop-de part. So do it however it works out for you, but that's what works for me. Oop. All right, I'm gonna just trim. And there we go. So there's your finished project. I think they're lots of fun. You can change this. You could add, there's lots of confetti punches in the catalog. Hearts, stars, there's little party ones. You could change this to fit whatever you want. You could add different sequins or whatever you'd like to throw in there. And what a fun little card that anybody would love to receive. If you would like to shop my website and pick out the supplies for this card, you can go to nikkiholt.stampinup.net and shop there. Thank you so much and have a great day.